Good morning, everyone. This is Brijesh, your host for this session. I would like to give you a small introduction about Techcanvass before we begin the session. We Techcanvass are into IT certification trainings. We are authorized training partners with IIBA Canada and ISQI Germany. We have entry and senior level certification programs for IIBA and Agile Business Analyst certifications for ISQI. We are also authorized to conduct training of CPSAT for Selenium training. You can visit to our page to know more about us, and I have given you the contact details in the chat box, so you can check that. All right. So now I would like to give you a small introduction about the trainer. Okay. So now Mr. Ravi has 9 years of hands-on experience in software test automation. And he has automated various enterprise level applications, web apps, websites, and mobile apps by using industry recognized tools like Selenium, SOAP UI, UFT, Java, and JMeter. All right. So now I would like to request Mr. Ravi to begin the session. Ravi sir, now you can take over. All the best. Thanks everyone. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Brajesh. So we'll begin this webinar of Selenium with Python. This webinar will cover basics of using Selenium with Python, including details of introduction to what is Selenium, what is Python, some brief level of description about these things. Then we'll move on to installation of Selenium, Python, language bindings, and we'll also try to demo one small script. At the end, we will see some level of advantages of using Python over Java or other languages. So I'll share my screen. I'll share the presentation now. I hope everyone can view my presentation on my shared desktop. If anyone is unable to view it, they can feel free to interrupt me. Also, I'll answer questions between the slides. If you have any questions, please post them into the chat box. There is a chat option in the Zoom client that is launched on your desktops. So use that chat option to post your questions. We'll take up questions for answers in between the slides or after the end of the session. So please feel free to post your questions in the chat box as and when you think you have a question. Okay, so let us start understanding what is Selenium and how it can be integrated or used with a language of our choice, one of the languages being Python. Before that, let us understand some concepts of test automation. We know that Selenium is a test automation tool designed to test web applications and websites. Anything that can be launched on a browser can be automated using Selenium. So let us see what actually is a test automation. So test automation for web applications, Selenium supports test automation for web applications and websites. Test automation is automating the testing activity that is required in day-to-day operations or in day-to-day software development. Testing is a very important part of software development lifecycle, and to ensure quality of a product or web application and websites, thorough testing at various levels is recommended. So we need frequent regression testing. Testing regression manually is a big bottleneck, and it cannot be followed judiciously if our regression testing is manual in nature, because it is redundant and it consumes a lot of time. However, if you automate the regression testing component or regression testing part, the software development lifecycle will always incorporate regression testing with every release. Also, test automation provides rapid feedback to developers. Manual testing, we know that it takes time and it takes cycles. As and when developers release the code, testers first undergo the functional testing in manual testing arena. If there is a way or there is a mechanism that certain set of tests run automatically as soon as developer releases the code, that can ensure that any regression defects or any functional defects are reported to development in advance, and they can fix the defects very early in the life cycle, which we know would reduce the cost of testing or cost of software development. Also, we can have virtually unlimited iterations, as in each iteration we will be executing regression via automation instead of manual execution. Automation also supports for agile and extreme development methodologies. These methodologies are virtually impossible to automate if we are they are virtually impossible to automate if we are not using test automation. Disciplined documentation of test cases. Since we are automating most of the test cases, uh, and each test script has some level of comments or uh, conditions that are covered in the test case, this allows us disciplined documentation without spending much effort on documentation. Customized defect reporting. Nowadays, defect reporting can also be automated. As soon as our automation script finds a defect, it can be automatically trigger a defect and create a new defect in the defect management tool. Finding defects missed by manual testing. Since manual testing is a manual effort, and sometimes or most of the times it is not executed in a very structured or in a complete manner due to various reasons, including deadlines, etc. So test automation covers all those challenges, and we can also find a lot of defects which are missed or uh, which are not covered under manual testing. Now, there is always a question whether to automate or not to automate. So automation is not always advantageous. Okay, there are some areas or some situations where we should not go for automation. Instead prefer manual testing. So when applications UI will change a lot of times, okay, when it is expected that application is going a lot of changes, then automation is not the best solution. Lack of enough time. So if there are very tight deadlines and there is no time available to set up the test automation, because setting up test automation requires a lot of time. So if there are time related constraints, automation should be refrained. Now, with some little background or some introduction on test automation, let us see what Selenium actually is. So people who do not have any idea or any knowledge about Selenium as a web testing tool, they can be benefited from this section. So Selenium is a set of different software tools, each with different approach to support test automation. So Selenium is a collection of lot of tools which support test automation of websites and web apps. Is a simple definition of Selenium. It consists of many tools for approaching different test automation problems. So test automation can be has to be done on many kind of web technologies. There are a lot of web technologies nowadays. Let's say even JavaScript has a lot of implementations like Node.js or AngularJS, etc. Right? Also, there are various challenges like Ajax, runtime changes on the web pages, dynamic web pages. Uh, Web pages with a lot of content which give performance challenges. So there are many tools in Selenium to facilitate this kind of automation or test automation problems. The entire suite of tools results in a rich set of testing functionality specifically geared for the need of testing of web application of all types. So various operations are covered by Selenium, like locating UI elements, comparing expected results against the actual behavior, which is the crux of testing. We know that we always have to compare expected results to the actual ones, and then we can call out if our test case is a pass or a fail. Parallel execution, test data management, cross-browser execution, sort of everything that is practically required to test any web application or website is virtually covered by Selenium. Let us see some brief history of Selenium as a tool. So Selenium came to life in 2004, and the person who introduced or developed Selenium was Jason Huggins early in 2004, and he was testing one application at ThoughtWorks. So ThoughtWorks is an organization who is actively developing Selenium tool. So in 2004, Jason Huggins uh, started with the Selenium. So initially, it was a Selenium core. So Selenium core consists of Selenium ID and Selenium RC. So Selenium has various versions. Selenium 1.0 was Selenium RC, which was used to run test cases on multiple browsers. Selenium RC was kind of a groundbreaking version or a release, because at that time there was no other product in the market which was allowing to control a browser from a language of your choice. So Selenium RC supported a lot of languages like Java, Python, Ruby, C Sharp. Okay, so there was no tool in the market which was supporting multiple languages to control the browser activities. Now in Selenium testing, we can understand that we need to control the browser activities. Selenium Core was the first version, and it included Selenium IDE and Selenium RC. Okay, so Selenium IDE is the simple version of Selenium, which is a Firefox add-in which can record and play scripts. So Selenium also has facility of record and play using Selenium IDE. Selenium IDE is a Firefox plugin which can run tests on Firefox browser. If you want to run test cases on other browsers, you would have used Selenium RC or Selenium Remote Control. So that was the first version of Selenium, Selenium 1.0. However, there were a lot of limitations of Selenium Core. Some of the limitations were JavaScript based automation engine. So what happened in Selenium Core was that JavaScript events were executed on web elements. For example, consider a scenario of login into a certain web portal. So while logging in, what Selenium was doing, it was injecting a JavaScript or running a JavaScript to enter username, running a JavaScript to enter password, and running a JavaScript to click on the login button. So this was essentially a set of JavaScripts which are getting executed on web application in order to execute the tests. So this is how Selenium Core used to work. So this has certain challenges and certain limitations. There were security limitations because browser apply a lot of security limitations to JavaScripts, as they are very vulnerable, and our product is very easily exposed if it allows very loose JavaScript execution. Also, things became impossible to automate because web apps were becoming more and more powerful over time. Web technology was evolving pretty well in the first decade of 2000. So, uh, with in uh, with in initialization, or with new web technologies coming up very frequently, and modern web applications were becoming it was becoming very difficult to automate modern web applications using JavaScript injection or JavaScript based automation engine. Also, it was not how an end user would use the website, because as an end user I will never inject a JavaScript to log in. I'll use my keyboard and mouse. Okay, so using keyboard and mouse is a native behavior, is a regular behavior that an end user will do on a website. It won't inject a JavaScript. So testing using injecting JavaScript was essentially not how an end user would test the web application or would use the product actually. So these limitations, these problems led to the evaluation of Selenium WebDriver, which is Selenium 2.0 version. Now, Google was a very heavy user of Selenium. However, testers had to have various workarounds in order to automate the applications because of the challenges that we discussed. Because JavaScript did not supported everything, so testers had to do a lot of workarounds in order to execute the or in order to automate the test cases. So in 2006, an engineer at Google named Simon Stewart started to work on a project he called WebDriver. Okay. So what he meant by, or what he did in WebDriver was, WebDriver spoke directly to the browser using native method for the browser and OS, thus avoiding the restriction of JavaScript environment. So Selenium IDE, we know that it needed JavaScript as it worked on JavaScript injections, but some engineer from Google started to use native behavior of browser. So what do we mean by native behavior? Native behavior is how actually browser would run the test, run the application when user triggers an event using keyboard and mouse. So let's say I want to log in and I use keyboard to enter username and password, and I use mouse to click on the login button. So similar native behavior, how an end user would do it without executing JavaScript, was implemented in WebDriver. So this is known as the native behavior of browser and operating system. Also, the WebDriver project began with the aim of solving the pain points which were there with Selenium. So, in 2008, a merge of Selenium Core and WebDriver was done. So, there were some solutions available in Selenium Core which were not available in Selenium WebDriver. So Selenium RC was Selenium 1.0 and WebDriver was 2.0. So a merge of both these projects gave birth to a new version of Selenium, which was Selenium WebDriver 2.0. So the joining of two tools, okay, Selenium Core and WebDriver, provided a common set of features for all users. Also, this new tool that was generated after merging, it has very awesome features. It had, and it also included a more cohesive and object-oriented API as well. So Selenium WebDriver used the concept of object orientation, which is a very popular methodology to develop softwares as well. We know that Java, Python, these languages support object orientation, and these are object oriented languages, and they are very widely used nowadays in product development of all kinds in all verticals. So similar nature was also incorporated in Selenium WebDriver 2.0, and an object-oriented API was developed, which promoted object orientation in test automation development as well. Gradually, there were challenges in Selenium 2.0. There were defects. There were issues related to how Selenium interacted with various browsers. We also know that core goal of software test automation, especially in websites, is that a tester has to test on all the available web browsers. So Selenium had a lot of challenges in interacting with different browsers, and Selenium WebDriver 2.x had a lot of issues, lot of defects. The defects you can check on the Selenium community website in their defect portal, in their defect tracker. So all those defect fixes were done, and Selenium 3.0 with a lot of enhancements was released in October 2016, which support most of the browsers on almost all operating systems. And the browsers list that you can see on the slide are compatible with Selenium 3.0. So very quickly, we can go to Selenium website. So the latest version of Selenium as of today is Selenium 3.5.2. So this is the Selenium WebDriver project. If you navigate to the downloads page, you will see that the latest version of Selenium right now is Selenium 3.5.2. Apart from supporting browsers, it also supported headless browser, which is HTML unit. So in a headless browser, what happens is your automated tests are executed without launching the browser based on the document object model or DOM. It also supported mobile operating systems like Android with Selendroid or APM. It also supported iOS for iOS based phones, iPhone, iPad, etc., using iOS driver or APM. So you can see the list of browsers on the Selenium website that it supported. It supports. So it supports Mozilla with a Mozilla oriented browser, which is Firefox. Uh, then Google Chrome, Opera, Microsoft Edge. Ghost driver is again a Phantom JS, which again is a headless browser. HTML unit. Safari is a browser for MacBooks or Apple operating systems. Uh, Windows also is supported by Selenium. Selendroid is a Selenium implementation for Android. It also supports iOS by using iOS driver. BlackBerry devices are also supported, BlackBerry oriented operating system. APM is again applications plus Selenium. So APM is applicable for both iOS and Android applications. Crosswalk, Qt, WebDriver, Vinium uh, uh, is an implementation of Windows plus Selenium. So Win from Windows and IUM from Selenium, that is Windows plus Selenium, makes Vinium. So Vinium is a tool for automating desktop applications which are hosted on Windows operating system. So Selenium is extended to use Windows applications as well, apart from regular web apps. So now Selenium can automate, or with the help of Vinium, we can automate Windows applications also. Vinium store apps. So Windows have their own store. So Windows store apps are also supported nowadays by Selenium. When talking about support of languages, the major languages that Selenium supports is Java, C Sharp, Ruby, Python, and JavaScript. So these are the languages which are supported by Selenium. Python, we can see the latest version is 3.5.0. For Java, the latest version of Selenium is 3.5.2. There are more languages which are supported by Selenium. So Selenium HQ community do not develop other languages as a part of Selenium support. They are developed by other third-party people or other third-party organizations. It also supports Perl, PHP, Haskell, Objective-C, JavaScript, various versions of JavaScript and PHP you can see by various third-party companies and individuals. Even Facebook is providing a PHP language binding for Selenium. R is also supported, which is a big data statistical analysis language. So Selenium is going into the arena of big data languages as well. So these are the third-party language bindings. So these languages Selenium supports. Also, Selenium supports these 5 popular languages, which is Java, C#, Ruby, Python, and JavaScript. Now, this was a brief about Selenium, what are various versions of Selenium and how Selenium works with or what languages and browsers are supported by Selenium. Now let us see what Python is and what Python. Uh, so Python is a high-level object-oriented scripting language. So Python is a very simple language. It's very easy to understand and very easy to start with. So Python is designed in a user-friendly manner. It uses simple English keywords which are easy to interpret. It has less syntax complications than any other programming language. So Python is a very simple language. Due to simplicity, it is very easy to start with. Now let us see some details about Selenium and Python, and let us look into some aspects of Selenium with Python. So for Selenium and Python today, we'll understand what language binding, how it works. Then we'll see how to install Python for Selenium. Then we'll also see how to install Python actually, and then Selenium, and then Selenium Python binding. Also, we will see how to install an IDE or an integrated development environment, which is used for coding Python. Then we'll see a simple script to launch a browser and to do some action using Python Selenium. Okay, so Python language supports several browsers like Firefox, Chrome, IE, Phantom, and remote protocol as well. So remote protocol is a wired protocol which allows you to control browsers remotely. So Selenium supports these versions of Python, which is 2.6, 2.7, and 3.3. So let us see further what Selenium WebDriver API supports. So it supports language binding. So Selenium WebDriver API can be used in conjunction with one of the language bindings. So language is a very important thing when we want to start Selenium scripting. A person should have a knowledge of one or more of these languages if you want to start with Selenium automation testing, because Selenium WebDriver API is using these languages in order to automate web applications. Also, many browsers are supported by Selenium WebDriver API. Kind of all browsers are supported, as I walked you through on the download page of the Selenium HQ website. So in order to create scripts that interact with Selenium or create Selenium WebDriver scripts, you need to make use of language specific client drivers. So in order to use a language, you need a language specific driver. So language bindings for other languages also exist, as we saw, but these are the core languages that are supported by main project hosted on Google Code. So Selenium's current code is hosted by Google, and these are the main languages that are officially supported by Selenium community or Selenium forum. So the languages are, as we discussed some time back also, Java, which is on version 3.5.2, C Sharp Ruby on 3.5.1, and Python and JavaScript on 3.5.0. And you can also see the release dates. So Python 3.5.0 was released on August 10, 2017. So let us see how to install Python first. Then we'll move on to installation of Selenium. So you can go to Python official website, which is www.python.org/downloads. On the downloads page, you can decide to download Python 3.6.2 and Python 2.7.13. Since Selenium supports Python 3.3 and later, you can safely download 3.6.2. Also, if you think why Python is maintaining two versions of or two major versions, which is 2.xx and 3.xx, you can anytime go to this URL, which is here's about more difference between Python 2 and 3, and you can figure out why they are maintaining two branches or two major versions. So installation of Python is pretty straightforward. You can download Python 3.6.2, and once you double click and go through the wizard, which is very standard wizard in Python, like any other software, you will install these three components. You will end up installing these three components, which is Python 3.6 manual, Python 3.6 module docs, and an idle IDE. So Python's default IDE is idle, IDLE. So apart from Python, you will also get these three components which will be installed on your PC. So this is the screenshot of idle IDE of Python. I'll launch that. Simply you have to write idle, search for idle software and click it. So this is the idle Python shell. So you can straight away write programming, or you can straight away write simple programs in Python. For example, if I do 2 plus 2, it is interpreted as 4 in Python. So this is the simple Python shell. So that was an idle tool, okay, idle interpreter for named idle for Python. Python also gives you an interactive shell, much like a command prompt on Windows. So if you want to use the shell, you have to simply write Python and click on this desktop app. So this shell you will get, which can be used to again perform simple Python commands. So Python is basically a command language which works, on which we fire the commands which are interpreted. Okay, so Python has an interpreter. So Python commands are interpreted and an output is generated. However, for working on Selenium with Python, we will use a IDE, an integrated development environment. So Python IDE is uh, uh, the Python IDE that is very popular is one from the JetBrains, and the name of the IDE is PyCharm IDE. So IDE is nothing but a piece of software which is used for which provides us a single view of everything that we need for coding. IDE gives us a source code editor, IDE gives us an interpreter, IDE gives us a debugger. Kind of everything is provided by an IDE. So instead of using idle or Python shell, ideally we should use a IDE which eases our development tasks, and which gives us a single view and a single place where everything is collated and where everything is available. So PyCharm is a Python. This is the official URL of PyCharm. You can download the free and open source community edition of Python. Sorry, PyCharm, which is available for free from JetBrains. So we can check that out very quickly. So this is the official website of PyCharm. So JetBrains is an organization which develops IDEs and a lot of other products. So they have a lot of IDEs. PyCharm is the Python IDE for Python professional developers. So we can download the full-fledged free community edition. And if you need more information, you can go into features and docs and demos to understand more about PyCharm as a IDE or an integrated development environment. Now let us see how to install Selenium WebDriver. So Selenium Python bindings. Okay. So if you want to use Selenium, we need to have a language binding. Okay. A Java language binding or a Python language, Ruby, C Sharp. Okay. Many other languages are available. So we are today discussing Selenium Python binding. So it provides a simple API to write functional tests using Selenium WebDriver. So we need to have a Selenium Python binding. We need to download it. Through Selenium Python API, you can access all functionalities of Selenium WebDriver in an intuitive way. So Selenium Python API is a special package developed by Google and hosted on the Selenium HQ website, which provides a cleaner way to use Selenium WebDriver using Python language. So it's a convenient API to access Selenium WebDrivers like Firefox, Internet Explorer, Edge, Chrome, Remote, etc. So downloading Python binding, so you can download it either from a PI page. However, a correct approach of installing the Selenium package is to use a PIP command. So Python 3.6 has PIP available, and using pip we can install the Selenium. So it's a very simple command to install Selenium. You can open Python shell. For installation, we will use shell. We will not use IDE. And the command is pip install Selenium. Very simple command to install Selenium. So you can open command prompt and you can write pip install Selenium. Once you run this command, if you have already installed it, it will give you that this message. Since I already have it installed, it is giving me requirement already satisfied. However, if you do not have it, it will install it for you. So the prerequisite to this is you should have Python 3.6 or later installed. The current version is 3.6.2, so it is a recommended version to install. Once you install Python, you can simply run this one-liner command with these 3 words: pip install Selenium from your command prompt to install Selenium in your desktop or Selenium on your computer. So Selenium requires a driver interface with the chosen browser. For each browser, we have a browser driver. Okay, so what is the use of browser driver? Let us discuss the use of browser driver here. So take an example of Google Chrome as a browser. So Google Chrome, if anyone wants to log into a Google Chrome, how Google Chrome will let's consider a test case of logging into Gmail portal. Okay, Gmail website. So how one will log into a Gmail portal and how Google Chrome browser will behave. So whenever user fires a username or an email ID from his keyboard, it is injected into the event queue of Google Chrome, right? From where it is typed into the text box. Similarly, password is also inserted into event queue and click login button is also inserted to the event queue. And then Google Chrome renders the web page, inserts the data as received from keyboard and clicks on the button as received from mouse. So Google Chrome is using some internal behavior in order to process the login scenario. Okay. Now, code certain events priority of that Google cannot show anyone. Google is not free. Also, browser. Okay, it's where it's not opens the code is public. Otherwise, so that Selenium can also inject the data into the event queue of Google Chrome's browser such that it is coming from keyboard. So Google Chrome will be mimicked by the end user behavior. So this is the use of browser driver. Also, if we do not pass the browser driver, we can get a message like this. In the demo, we'll see how we can pass the browser driver, exe. So these are the websites from where you can download the browser driver. These are also available on downloads page of Selenium HQ. Now downloading Selenium server. So Selenium server can be downloaded again from the Selenium website. Uh, and it requires installation of Java runtime environment. So this is the command to use Selenium server. If you are using IDE, you do not need to do these steps of starting the Selenium server. Also, if Java is not installed on your machine, so Java is a basic requirement, and you need to set a path variable uh, in your environment variables to have Java configured. If you do not have an environment variable, you can provide the full path to Java and full path to Selenium server jar. Now, let us move towards some of the practical implementation of Selenium with Python. Let us see how to create a project in IDE. So if you want to create a project in an IDE, when you launch the IDE, this is the first screen that you can see. From here, you can choose to create a new project. So I will choose to create. Okay, so we have a question from Nadeem. He said that his question is related to, can he start learning Python now? So yes, you can start Python because Python is very easy and when compared to Java to start with, and the syntax is very less in Java. Sorry, in Python. Okay, so we can go to the new project. So this is the screen that you will see on creating a project. You can give a project name of your choice. I'll say Selenium Python demo. So this is how a project is created. Very simple. So project is nothing but a, a basic structure of how where we'll write the code. So either you can open an existing project or you can create a new project. From that project, you can go ahead and create your Python scripts. Okay, so we'll see by creating a simple Python scripts. So let us see what is available, what all is available on our IDE. So the first thing that is available on our IDE here is the projects. So whatever projects and Python scripts we have will be available under the project explorer. The second is the source code editor. So at source code editor, we'll write our source code. On the top, there is a path to our current Python file. at number 3. Number 4 is line of codes. Number 5 is the bar where we'll see errors, etc. Number 6 is the number of files that are available in the project, and number 7 is the current status of the IDE. It and write simple Selenium script using Python. So this is a simple Selenium script. Uh, the very first that you can see is the uh, importing the WebDriver. This is similar to import statement of Java. So we can say from Selenium import WebDriver. This will import the WebDriver library for me to use. Also, we are importing keys class or keys in order to perform keyboard related operations in line 2. Line third is a line to launch the browser. So we are saying driver is equal to webdriver.firefox. This third line will launch a browser for me. This line would launch a browser for me. Then fourth line will take me to a Python website, which is python.org. This line would check for word Python in the driver title. So assert is comparing actual result with the expected result. Okay, so assert is a command for comparing actual result with expected result. So this command or this line will give me this line will check for sense of Python word in the driver title. Next line would find an element whose name is Q. Okay, it will next line would enter the search term, which is PyCon. Then we'll press a enter key or return key. Then again we'll assert whether the page source of the loaded page has no results found in it. Okay, and then we will close the browser. Okay, so this is a high level program. Let me re-execute it so that we can understand it better. So this is my first Python script. So let us see what each line is doing here once again, and then we will execute it. So here in the line we are simply importing WebDriver, or simply calling the WebDriver library to execute Selenium script. In line number 2, so here we are importing WebDriver from Selenium library. In second line, what we are doing is we are importing keys to enter keyboard events. So I told you we are mimicking user behavior, right? We are mimicking end user. End user will use keyboard, correct? Third step is we are launching a browser. Third step is we are launching a browser and passing the browser exe path, which is the checkcodedriver.exe. Fourth step is we are navigating to python.org page. So using driver.get command, we are navigating to python.org page. Next step is we are asserting or validating or verifying. Okay, that is testing, right? Actual to expected. We are verifying whether page title contains word Python. So if page title will contain word Python, my test will pass, otherwise it will fail. Next, we are finding an element by name Q. So whatever element is named Q on the web page, we are finding it out. Next step, we are clearing text box of element found above. Next, we are entering text in web element. So the web element is a text box. So we are entering text into it. Next, pressing enter key. Next is again asserting, so checking whether no results found is not present in resulting page source. So if we have no result found, that means our test has failed. And the last step, we are closing the browser. So this is a step-by-step of a simple WebDriver script. Now let us try to execute this one and see the behavior. So what will be executed? Let me walk you through first manually. So see what manually we are doing. We are launching a browser, going to python.org. We are looking for this, right? Search box. We are finding this. Okay. And with keyboard, we are entering PyCon. We are pressing enter key here. And we are waiting for this page to, or we want this page to appear. Okay. So let me first comment out this closure of browser, because if browser will close, you will not able to see anything. Okay, now let's run the script. Now we are executing this on Firefox. Okay, on line 3 you can see we have selected Firefox. So I'll say run first. So you will see that Selenium will be activated, browser will be launched. So see, the browser is coming up. It will go to my website, which is python.org. It will look for the word, it will enter it, and it will press the enter key, and my search page, whatever was desired, is displayed. Browser is not getting closed, is not closed because we have commented the browser driver.close. Now we'll uncomment it and I'll run it again. So this time the browser will also will get closed automatically. I did not close it earlier because people would have found it difficult to see the output. So see, now it will happen really quick. So you need to focus. So see, it will enter text, press enter, and it closes the browser. So this is the way Selenium scripts can be very easily written in Python. Now, this was a simple usage. Okay. The same script can be saved into a Python file with py extension and can be executed like we executed just now. Now, Selenium is mostly used to write test cases, which we need to automate. So the Selenium package does not provide any framework. Test cases are written using Python's unit test module. Like in Java, you have a JUnit or a TestNG. In Python, you have a unit test module. The other option is to use py.test and nose. Okay, if you want any external framework like we have JUnit, TestNG, Cucumber, etc. in Java. So the modified example that we are going to see uses unit test module. So let us see how to use the unit test module to write test cases. The only difference to the existing script that we need to do is we need to import the unit test module as the first line you can see. Next, we'll set up test and tear down. So there are three methods that you can see. So in Python, we can define methods using def keyword. Okay, methods and variables. So def keyword will set up something for me. Setup means prerequisite things before executing a test. Test means actual test, which is this test search in Python. And tear down means closure activities or some activities which are needed once a test is executed. So I'll divide my test into three separate methods and I'll execute it using main method. Okay. Let us see in PyCharm. I'll describe that further to you. So what we are doing here is the first step that we are doing here is importing unit test framework. This is similar to Java or a JUnit or a TestNG framework in Java. This step is same as for previous script. Again, third line is also same. Fourth line is different. So here we are defining a class. Okay, so class is nothing but a collection of some code. Okay, some code is available in our class. So in object oriented programming, for those who for those who are not aware, in object oriented programming every code is present inside a class only. Okay, so we are defining a class, defining setup method or function. So method or a function is some lines of code for particular action. So what I'm doing is in setup method, I'm launching the browser. Okay, because anyways, whether I call the test method or other test method, I need a browser. So defining a test method which will conduct my actual test. I can define many test methods. Okay, based on how many test cases I have. These steps are again same. This one is a different. So this is a synchronization or a wait step. We know that all web pages are not loaded instantly. There is some synchronization or some wait related things which are required. Okay, we need to wait for certain time for the page to load up. So we'll wait for 10 seconds, okay, for page to load up here. Then this assertion is again same. Finding element is same, entering PyCon is same, pressing enter key is same, this assertion is also same. This is a different thing, which is defining a tear down method for cleanup activities. Once a test is executed, I want to clean up my browser by closing it, and I want to take a screenshot will be taken and will be file will be screenshot png. Okay, so let's say I want to take a screenshot after an execution, so I can use this. This is main method. We have to call a main method by this syntax in Python, unit test.main. So let us try to execute this one. Right click, run. So a test is started. It will go to python.org. It will search for PyCon, press the enter key, and it will do some assertions and close the browser. And you can see that report that one test was ran in 16 seconds and the status is okay. And in the left hand side, you can see that all tests passed. Also, you can see now there is a screenshot which we created. You can open the screenshot and check the screenshot that we took. So these are the results. Now there were few things that we did there. Let me walk you through the few commands. So for navigating, what we did was driver.get. So get will take you to the URL wherever you want to go. Also, WebDriver waits for page to fully get loaded before going on to other event. So if you are doing get, WebDriver will wait for page to load up completely. Interacting with the page. So for interaction, we have find element. Okay. So what we can do is we can find each element on the web page and store it as a element by using various strategies. So a web element on a web page can be found by using a lot of strategies. Some of them are ID, name, XPath, CSS, etc. Also, we know that WebDriver is an object-based API. So all elements are represented as an object. Entering text. So like we enter text from keyboard in Python, the command to enter the keyboard is whatever element you want to enter text to, element dot send keys, and whatever text you want to enter, you can pass it in the brackets or in the parentheses under double quotes. Code to close browser, we can use driver.close or driver.quit to close the browser. Now, let us see what are the differences or what are the uses of Python over Java. So Python is undoubtedly an easier language. We saw that in order to take screenshot, if you can see here, we are just writing one line of code here, this line 17. But if you go on Java, there is a quite a lot of code that you have to write if you want to achieve this functionality. So Python is definitely easier to understand to start. Python syntax is much more simpler and readable. So Python syntax is very easy for beginners to understand, and the code walkthrough and the code debugging is also very easy. It minimizes the amount of code that is needed to complete the task. So as I told you, in Python we need to write less lines of code if you want to undertake some task. Tons of modules are already available that do any kind of job. So there are predefined modules, okay, which are already available for you. We can easily use them without writing a lot of code. Less verbose than Java with a great community. So less verbose means you need, again, same thing, you need to write less code. Okay, it is very less verbose. No need of writing multiple or larger number of lines of code to achieve certain problem. In Python, the lines of code will be relatively very less. Faster execution. So Python can be executed faster because it is interpreted and Java is compiled. So Python is a faster uh, in execution when compared to Java. Use of indentation versus braces. So as you can see, Python uses indentation. Whatever needs to be included under a class, you just need to provide an indentation, that is one tab, this one. If you want to include anything under setup method, just give another tab. Okay, so it works on indentation rather than brackets or braces. Python is more compact. It includes, so it hides unessential things, reducing clutter. So Python hides a lot of things, a lot of implementation that is happening behind the scene. Again, let's take an example of taking a screenshot or saving a screenshot. So see, we are just calling the save screenshot method and screenshot is getting saved. Okay, we are not doing writing any code, and all the code that is written behind the scene is hidden with from us, hidden from a programmer, so that we have very less clutter. Python is an upcoming language and is very widely used, and Selenium can send standard Python command to different browsers despite variation in browser design. So standard Python commands are easily, we can easily send standard Python commands from Selenium to various browsers. This is also one of the advantage of using Python over Java. So conclusively, we can say that Python is an easy to learn and a very powerful programming language. It has efficient high level data structures, okay, like lists, etc., and is simple but effective approach to object oriented programming. So there are predefined data structures also apart from modules, which can be readily used in Python. Python's elegant syntax and dynamic typing together with interpreted nature make it an ideal language for scripting and rapid application development in many areas on most platforms. Since Python is interpreted instead of compiled, so it is good for scripting tasks, or it is good for quick tasks. And also the turnaround time is very less since the code is interpreted, because if code is compiled, there is a, a life cycle that needs to be in place with the compiled code. But since the code is interpreted, the turnaround time is also very less. And all these features make it an ideal candidate for Selenium web test automation, because it is interpreted. Python commands can readily be consumed. There are a lot of modules. For example, if you want to read data from an Excel sheet or from a CSV, so using Python, it is very easy because you can use predefined modules. So it is an ideal candidate for Selenium test automation. Now you must, so this is an appendix that I have wrote for one of the keywords that has been used in a program. So this is the program. So you can see this self keyword, self name is used everywhere. So the use of this self is in defining an instance method. So it is passed automatically as the first parameter when you call a method on an instance. So it refers to a class or instance attribute from inside an instance method. So it should be used if you want to access a name of the instance from inside a method. So a class would have a method, and if you want to give it a call inside a class, okay, simple. If you want to give a call to a method from class itself, you have to use self object. Okay, if you want to give a call from inside the class, that is inside this body, you need to use self. So see, we are using self everywhere, which tells Python interpreter that a call is coming from inside the class. So this is it from the content perspective that we had. If any one of you have any questions, please put them forward. So I'll take the questions that are already in the chat room. So Nadeem had a question that he had started learning Java, and can he start, and shall I stop Java? So Nadeem, it's entirely your choice. I explained you the pros and cons of Java and pros of Python over Java. So you can feel free to decide which language you want to go ahead further, because Java has its own advantages and disadvantages, and Python has its own advantages. However, I'll recommend that initially Python is very easy to understand and an easy to start automation, easy to start test automation using Python. In terms of so we have a question, what is in terms of openings? So in terms of openings, Python is a bit definitely in demand, because people who know Selenium with Python are very less in market right now. So in terms of demand also, Python is very prominent, and due to lack of people who know Python with Java, the demand is very high. Most of the people who know Selenium, they know Java. People do not know Python with Selenium, so the demand is really high. Shankar has a code. Does Selenium needs to be installed for PyCharm to work? Yes. No, PyCharm has no dependency of Selenium. PyCharm is a tool for Python. If you need to automate Selenium, you have to use PyCharm. Oh, sorry, you have to use Selenium. You need to simply say pip install Selenium if you want to automate web applications. PyCharm has no dependency. So Nadeem has a question, the duration of course. So the duration of course, Nadeem, would be uh, 8 weeks. It will be 32 hours. Each week we will have a 4 hours session each week. And in 8 weeks, we will cover 32 hours. That is the course duration for uh, professional and for advanced. If you want to understand the nitty gritties of how to set up a framework, how to set up a CI/CD model, you will have to uh, you will have to go into the advanced course, which is 11 weeks. So private has a question on trends of Python. So private, as we discussed, that Python, uh, there are the number of professionals that know Selenium with Python is very, very less. So automatically the demand is higher. And Selenium with Java, is very I mean, everyone is sort of learning, whoever is learning test automation is learning Selenium with Java. So Selenium with Python will be is a combination. uh, the market is facing scarcity of, and there is a huge demand of Selenium Python right now. So Nadeem has a question, when are the sessions starting? So Nadeem, you can coordinate with Brajesh, and he will help you with the session timings and all the details that you need. So Brajesh will help you. So Abhi has a question. Yes, Abhi, we can use Eclipse. You need to install Python add-in for Eclipse, and you can use Eclipse also. But PyCharm is recommended for Python because it's lightweight than Eclipse, and it has a lot of cool new features. And so yeah, Eclipse is also good candidate for Python. PyCharm is not the only thing, but yeah, PyCharm in my opinion is better than Eclipse, but Eclipse can also be used. Yes, so Nadeem, all these, ideally, this information you can. So Nadeem has a question. So Brajesh, are you there?
Yes, sir. I'm there.
So Nadeem has a question about training schedule for Python. So I think you should take his contact details and you can discuss with him.
Surely, sir. Yeah, I'll contact him.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. So Nadeem, Brajesh will contact you, and you can, these answers will be, these questions will be answered. So okay. So moving on to questions, we have question from Kiran, currently on sabbatical. So yes, Kiran, the course that we conduct is designed in a way that any manual tester can walk in and can start joining the course without any knowledge of scripting or programming. So the course is taken care from basics right from installation of each and everything, right from installation of Java, Python, Selenium. So you need not have any programming knowledge. Private has a question regarding online. So yes, there is an option of learning online also, and we use the same approach. That is on Zoom client. You will get a Zoom link, and you can log into the Zoom link, and I, being a trainer, would give you the content session and online like we are giving. I'll share my screen, and when you will also do some coding exercises, and if you face any problem you can share the screen so that we can resolve the issues. So this is the way the online batches would work. And Techcanvass is already doing a lot of online classes regarding fees. So Brajesh, private has a question regarding fees. Please get in touch with him or her.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So private, you can contact Brajesh. Maybe Brajesh, you can post your mobile number on this chat room so that if someone readily wants to call you, they can do that.
Yes, sir. I've already shared. I'll share once again.
Yeah, okay. So everyone, I believe, would have contact information in the webinar invite. You can, or alternatively, you can reach Brajesh anytime.
Hello.
Yeah. So any more questions? Yeah. So Brajesh has shared the, thank you Nimesh for attending this. Thank you. So Brajesh has shared the contact details. Please note down these contact details, and if you have any questions, you can feel free to reach out to him. If you have any technical questions, even Brajesh can connect you with me or any other of our trainers. So feel free to post your technical questions also if you have. So a question from Salman, do we need to install Firefox driver or it's supported by default? Uh, so Salman, starting Selenium 3.0, okay. Earlier we did not need to give Gecko driver earlier before 3.0 Selenium. But after Selenium 3.0, it is mandatory to give Gecko driver. So if you are using older version of Selenium, you must have found that you are not giving it you can skip that, or you do not need to give Gecko driver executable path. But starting Selenium 3.0, it is mandatory. So it is not installed defaultly, or it is not there before Selenium 3, but after Selenium 3 you have to go to the Selenium HQ downloads page, download the driver and pass it to the script. That is mandatory now, starting Selenium 3.0. So please take a couple of minutes to note down the contact details that are in the chat box right now, so that if you have any more questions going forward, either you can drop an email or you can directly give a call on those numbers and your queries will be addressed. Any more questions? So Salman has a question on getting the recorded session details. So Brajesh, can they get the recorded session, this one?
Yes, sir. Of course. I mean, the link will be shared. I mean, the recorded sessions link will be shared shortly. I mean, we'll share the link to them.
Sure. So Salman, yes, the link will be shared and you can get it. Okay. Thank you, Salman. Any more questions? Please post them in the chat box, or you can unmute your mic and speak also. Okay, so if we have no more questions, I think we can conclude this webinar. Brajesh, do you have anything?
No, sir. Actually, I guess they don't have any questions right now.
Yeah. Yeah, whatever questions were there sent to me privately, I have addressed them. So if there are no more questions, I think we can conclude this session. And regarding new batches of Selenium with Python or other courses that are offered, you can note down the contact details of Brajesh and the team in the chat box, and you can give them a call or write to them. Okay, so Brajesh, I think we can conclude this.
Yes, sir. Okay. So thanks everyone. Thanks for joining, and the contact details have been shared. Okay. So for any further information and queries, any details, you can anytime reach me on my email ID. You can write me on my email ID, and you can call me on the numbers given in the chat box. Thank you.